Hello, my name is Michal Korniewicz, and I have tremendous pleasure to be here at my home studio, unfortunately, not in Poznan. And welcome to the first day of Game Industry Conference. If you're just tuning in or you've been, as I did, listening to the past talks, I really enjoyed the last talk by Mikołaj, and going a little bit farther in the direction, my talk will also be circling around an MMO subject, but from a pretty different perspective. We'll be talking about the music I did for Last Oasis, and in broader scope about music created for MMO games and more open-ended games. Before I begin, and this goes to all my game dev friends that I usually will be grabbing a beer after the talks, and to all the people I would meet in person, as I've been a part of 5 or 6 game industry conferences before. I sincerely miss you all, and I really, really hope that you're doing well during these crazy times and staying healthy and staying well. Couple words about myself. My name is Michal Korniewicz. As I said, I'm a composer and sound designer, and basically handling all aspects of game audio. I've been in a game audio industry for about 6 years now. Before I was composing music for linear media, and during my time I did a couple dozens of projects ranging from little cute mobile games through PC and console titles. The last couple of years I spent as an audio lead on Donkey Crew. It's a multinational company based in Wrocław behind Last Oasis. I was leading a small team there, and since a few months I'm back to the beautiful life of a freelancer. Now, I want to kick it off by playing you the launch trailer for Last Oasis. The game launched earlier this year at the end of March, and let's start with that. All right, with that mood set up, let's talk briefly a little bit more about what is Last Oasis. And first of all, I've got some exciting news from the dev team. They just announced that Last Oasis will be coming to Xbox next year. And they're also starting a new season. So if you are a fan of MMOs, it's a good moment as any to jump in and try it out. And this is a survival MMO with a nomadic twist, and that nomadic twist is really a deep root for both music and in-game mechanics. And what happened in the world of Last Oasis, it's that there was a cataclysmic event that caused Earth to stop rotating around its own axis, but it's still revolving around the sun. And that resulted in half of Earth being burned by sun, the other dead cold. And there's the thin stripe of habitable Earth that's constantly moving. And humanity is living a nomadic lifestyle following that stripe. You've seen in the trailer those huge walking land ships we call walkers. And those serve as your mobile bases, your main means of transportations, and you have to move from map to map, from server to server, because they are decaying over time. And that deeply influenced how I approached music and how we approached game mechanics in general. Now, for the scope of this talk, I would first tell you about the challenges from composer's perspective when trying to write music for a sandbox MMO. It will be in comparison to more narrative-driven titles and in a huge comparison to linear media, because it's nothing like that. Then I'll talk about technical and artistic solution. First, I wanted to split it in my talk, but they coexist in so many places that I'll be just talking pretty much about both of them simultaneously. And once we have that covered, we'll jump outside of the box and talk about more ways how a musician, a composer, can add to the game besides only the best possible soundtrack he strives or she strives to compose, right? And that part of the talk is what I like to call audio that actually sell games, but we'll get to that. Okay, let's start with challenges. And this is a photo of me hiding under my desk with not all, but the huge chunk of analog documentation I've made as an audio lead working on Last Oasis, and that was, quite a journey. And let's start with the lack of story. Obviously, there is a backbone that I just told you about the Earth stopped rotating and the cataclysm, and it helps tremendously set the music in the direction. For me, it was going after the Bedouin music or other nomadic tribes or Middle East in general, because there's so much desert in the game. So you have a main track, right? But there's no story that you can follow as composer in terms of writing themes, supporting that story with a highly narrative music. You can't do it. Sorry, that when we get to NPCs, there are no defined NPCs in Last Oasis. There are enemies, AI enemies that are basically in the mode of either you kill them or they kill you. But there are no dialogues that you could, as a composer, underline, or character motives that are so vastly used in many different soundtracks. You don't have space for those. Then it's a total of 0 cutscene, not counting the one introducing you to being left behind, stranded on the desert and left to die, which you as a player will defy that death until the moment you meet other players, of course. Then there are very few level-based triggers. And what I mean by that is actually our mapping department did a really good job on providing us with tools to be able to manipulate music during exploration. And I'll talk about it going further. But it's nowhere near the game like Uncharted or Tomb Raider or something that, it's linear and you can place triggers along the level when the player sees a beautiful landscape and play a little pretty cue. There's no way to do it. Then we have an absence of quests. We have quests at the beginning, but they serve as tutorial, and those quests are boil a cactus, build a bed. And this is not really something you can cling onto emotionally with music. Last but not least, definitely not least, because I think it's a creme de la creme of problems and challenges. It's a player versus player interaction. And it gave me nightmares at the beginning when I started to develop the adaptive audio system for Last Oasis. And it just so many ways that it can go in different directions so quickly as they're gonna be fight. If there's gonna be fight, is the other player going to kill me or go for the kill or just want to chase me away? Or maybe we'll start trading. Maybe we will become friends. Maybe I will get invited to the clan. Maybe that invitation will be just an ambush. Maybe after a few swings, we'll come to terms and decide it's no longer worth fighting. And it just, mind-blowing how do you convey that to music, right? So, about adaptive system in Last Oasis, let's talk about tools I had at my disposal. at the time. And this game has been created in Unreal Engine 4. For various reasons, we did not use a middleware. So all the audio was done in vanilla Unreal. It was done in the new Unreal Audio Engine, which at the time was not turned on by default, but it was already quite advanced, and we decided to use it straight away. And it was around April last year when we sat down with my audio programmer and with the help of other sound designers to try to sketch out and try to design our custom tool for adaptive music system. Because at the time, Unreal only allowed syncing music to tick. And if you have a music which is multi-layered and those layers have different length and the music is really rhythm-based, this is not enough. This is not enough synchronization. It's not precise enough. You need the sample rate accuracy to be able to do that. And thankfully, it was like the second week when we started sketching out the system, Unreal released TimeSynth. And TimeSynth component is a tool. It's not an adaptive music system. It's a tool to build adaptive music systems. And it was exactly what we needed. And one of the most beautiful things about it and the worst things about it is that it looks like that at the beginning, as you can see in the slide. It's a blank page. And the obvious disadvantage is that this blank page, if you want to build a simple standard adaptive music system, or just a couple of loops or something like that, it takes more time than WI's Fmod, Eliash, or any kind of tool built exactly for that reason. But the beautiful thing about it is that it is a blank page and you don't have any predefined ways of creating your adaptive music system. Whatever you envision, whatever you design, you will build it the way as you see it. And I really, really enjoyed that creative freedom and not having to fight against limitations or predefined ways that program works. And after a while, this is how a adaptive music system for your game might look like. Obviously, there are some things still hidden within the functions, but and I won't be talking about this really because you can't see much, and here just an overview of different systems of explorations music, walker riding themes, combat music, the special zones, the special events or the special enemies all come together and they're all somehow dependent on each other, and you just build it as you please. And now Unreal actually had a surprise for me a couple of days ago. It's about a week, I think now. And they announced Quartz. And what is Quartz? So when TimeSynth was introduced, as I said, the new Unreal Audio Engine was not on by default. So TimeSynth is a separate, smaller audio engine that worked aside of the main one, and was a single component that you could attach, then play your music on the single actor, and it, for several reasons, it worked great. But now, once and since 4.26, I believe, or maybe 4.25 even, the new Unreal Audio Engine is on by default, and thanks to it, the Unreal Audio team was able to move that sample rate, accuracy, logic to a new audio engine, and they created Quartz. And what Quartz does much better than TimeSynth, it's a tool that will be at the heart of every adaptive music system, but it's so much more than that. It allows you to set up multiple different clocks, so multiple different timings, and you can attach those, or you can assign actors to the different clocks, and you can have a snapping of a character in the street synced with you as a player playing a banjo, or a bunch of really crazy stuff that you can imagine, and you can do so much more than with a TimeSynth. And the main advantage of it is that actually now quartz will be the thing that's going to be in development instead, because TimeSynth, as Dan Reynolds said, was unsustainable. And now at some point in the future, quartz will effectively replace TimeSynth. And therefore, if you're starting right now, creating adaptive music system on Unreal, or you're thinking what tools to use, or just at the beginning, you started with TimeSynth, move to quartz, because this is the future. I've got this beautiful quote. Someone asked Dan Reynolds from Unreal Audio team, is this going to be a replacement to Wise? And if this is not the mic drop, I don't know what is. Well, I cheer for that team so much. They have now, I believe, 6 developers working on it, and there are beautiful things happening within Unreal's audio engine, and I can't wait to see more. Now, enough about tools. Let's talk about the elements of that adaptive audio systems, what kind of different music areas we've explored. And let's stick with exploration themes. And since I've been talking for quite a while now, let's listen for a second instead of listening to my voice. So this was one of our exploration themes, and what you can see in the background of the slide is a set of layers from a world generator. And in Last Oasis, maps are procedurally generated, and this adds to the problem, I would say, because you can't just hand place triggers or zones or whatever. We had to come up with the system that will automatically help us decide what music to play, and we've been provided with a set of layers that then I could change what exactly what type of exploration theme I want to play. And exploration themes, as you've heard, and this one has an A beautifully played by Sebastian Wielondek, and they are kind of ambient in nature. They don't have a set rhythm. They just kind of flow, setting the mood. But then player, instead of just exploring on foot through the world of Last Oasis, can ride on the walker. And that's, kind of a premise of the game. So after a while, you will spend more time on the walker than on foot. And those kind of themes didn't really fit the pace of exploration where you're on the walker, because walker kind of deserves a more, I would say, driving music, right? So let's give it a listen. Right, so much more rhythm-based, much more lively. Still not too many instruments here. Mateusz Szemraj on the plucked instruments, Magdalena Urbańska on baritone violin, and it's the thought behind it was to feel like there's a small band of bards playing along with you on the walker. And another information that we get from the maps, from the layers, besides special zones like a save zone, trading zones, stuff like that, we had travel zones. And what are travel zones? This is that dark blue region on the outskirts of the map. And this is an area where you as a player, if you reach that with your walker, you can then trigger traveling to another map, to another server. So this is the moment where you will get transferred to an off-map lobby, manage walkers, crew, and all that stuff. This is the moment where you get sucked out a little bit out of immersion in the game. And the music is a great tool to do just that. You can introduce vocals, you can pump up the volume a little bit more, and if the music starts to push to the first layer of audio, it tends to take people away from the experience, from being deeply immersed. And it can break immersion if done in not a correct moment. But if you want to do it like we wanted to do in this moment, because you're traveling, you're gonna see a UI screen, not a game, it serves that purpose really well, and listen to such theme. Those throat singing vocals you can hear are made by Mateusz Polański, and they really glued the soundtrack together and gave this unique flavor. And while we are on topic of the voice and instruments and kind stuff like that, I've mentioned when I was talking about the challenges, I told you how we can't do this, we can't do that, no NPCs, no cutscenes whatsoever. And it's important for every game, but it was especially important for this one. And I couldn't imagine this music made just with virtual instruments, without hiring actual musicians to breathe that character, those imperfections, that life into the soundtrack. It makes a world of a difference. I'm very thankful for the Donkey Crew that they bought into that idea. They found the budget to record those top tier instrumentalists. And this is something as a game developer, you might want to think at the earlier stages of production that you've got composer's fee, but then talk with your composer. Maybe some put those live recordings in their fee, or maybe you as a developer have to think about additional budget that will really kick the music you'll have in your game to another gear. All right. Let's move on. And this is one of the things I won't be deep diving into because of the obsoleteness of Unreal TimeSynth, and basically shows how the setup for playing different exploration music in different climates. But this is something I want to talk about a little bit more. And it's called Exploration Bit System. And when I started working on exploration themes, it was quickly apparent that they cannot play all the time. There needs to be a silence. And I deeply believe that in every game, there's a place for silence, and it only emphasizes the music that comes after it. It gives a breather to the player. He's then a more engaged listener. So it does only good things for the audio. But Last Oasis is the kind of game that people easily log more than 1,000 hours into. It's an MMO, and it's a fact. So I found out that I couldn't compose that much music, so it will feel, it won't be repetitive, right? And so I figured that the space, and it was really hard to find the right amount of silence between the exploration themes. It felt, on one hand, if it was too short, it felt that the music is playing it's too repetitive, if the silence was too long, it felt that it's not supporting the mood of a certain area enough. And then I came up with the exploration bit system, which is basically taking an exploration theme, taking a smaller melodies out of it, splitting it, and each was split to around 25 different small melodies, each lasting 10, 15 seconds, something around that. And those randomly playing on a really low volume, really at the background, barely noticeable, but still keeping that mood alive. And those are 3 examples. Okay, I'm well aware of that the quality is top-notch, unfortunately, streaming embedded SoundCloud files, but you can find, if you want to listen more to this music, you can obviously find it on SoundCloud, on Spotify, Tidal, any major streaming platform, or you can get it on Steam. And now let's get to the heart of the adaptive music system, a combat music system. And the main idea is rather simple: to introduce an intensity meter. And that intensity meter will register every violent event in the game, like getting hit, and will add a certain value to our meter. And once that value reaches a certain threshold, it will trigger a change in the music. And if there, for some period of time, there are no violent events happening, then that intensity will fall down. Simple concept with the addition of checking the player's health, but we'll get to that later. Not such simple execution. First is the amount of events and taking them into consideration. And there are a few straightforward ones, like getting a hit, landing a hit, but since it's directional based combat, really skill based, you can attack from front, left, or right, depends how you swing, how hold off your weapon. Blocking a hit or getting blocked will add to your intensity. If you're on the walker and that walker gets damaged, it will add to intensity. If there's a projectile from siege weapon just flying by your head, not even hitting you, this will add to intensity. Same with you shooting those weapons, not hitting the target, but being close. And even if I swing and I try to hit the player, but I miss not by much, and that other players in front of me, it will still be registered as an event. Now, each event has a set of parameters. First are general settings, stuff like how much exactly that event, when it occurs, will add to the meter, then intensity level cap. So some events, we don't want some events to trigger that most intense layer, so we'll keep them that cap lower, then delay how long after such event the curve, the meter will start falling down. And then we have a causer. And causer settings is really at the heart of that system, because every such event registers a causer. Player who attacked me or someone who shot that projectile that flew by my head, now system is tracking how far they are from me. And this allows us to change music and base and know if are we still in danger? Are they chasing us? Maybe we're still in the fight, but we're just circling each other. Or was I and my causer able to evade? Right? So this was really handy. And then at the bottom, we have clan modifiers. And those basically change the general values in case the causer is in our clan. So there are some things like that close miss I talked about earlier that we don't want to trigger at all if we're in the same clan. So that took really a lot of tweaking and testing and playing the game over and over to get right. Then when it comes to assets, and now we'll start deconstructing such combat theme. In a minute, I'll play a movie for you showing that. But first, I want to talk a little bit about what type of assets goes into the engine. So first, we've got TimeSynth clips, and each clip can consist of multiple audio files, and those are just variations. Like, for example, for the outro of the theme, or for the intro, you don't want to have, especially if the combat is really short, you don't want to hear the same intro and outro all the time, so they have different variations. And beside TimeSynth clips, we have TimeSynth volume groups, and you can assign different clips to different volume groups and dynamically manipulate what volumes will be heard. And for example, in our Eclipse theme, there are 4 different layers, which are simple loops, but they are assigned to different volume groups, which fluently but dynamically change their volumes. So the whole track is evolving along the way. And let's now play the video.
Okay, so let's dive in. Each theme will have multiple intros and outro cues. And this is to make each and every single short fight sound different from another. Let's hear how the singular track sounds. This is something that plays on every intensity level. The first, second, and third. Then we have a more melodic layer. With oud as a lead pluck instrument. And now when we rise our intensity level to level 2, this will be exchanged by this track. Which is not that different really, because oud plays almost the same, a little bit more notes, but we introduce another plucked instrument in rhubarb. It's a little bit more intensive. Then we have a track that plays on level 2 and level 3, and it introduces a little bit of low-end gritty synth from subsequent 37 analog synthesizer, and a little bit of more percussion. And now let's hear the melodic track in level 3 intensity. Introduction of a new instrument, a baritone violin. And this is a low health layer. It's basically the same melody than a normal level 3 layer, but it introduces dissonant notes. And you can feel under your skin that sense of urgency, that something is wrong, something is not right. So let's now listen to how those whole levels sound together. So level 1. Kick it up a notch to level 2. And to level 3. Let's try with low health level in a second. Listen how this oud melody changes. Yeah, that's about it when it comes to individual tracks in different levels of intensity.
All right, we've got that covered. I'm not sure how's the quality of those videos. I hope it's good enough. We're streaming them from the server because it's usually a problem. And then now when we have that that analysis of the track and you see what little elements created, I want to show you the last short video showcasing two examples from the actual game. First will be a very short combat between an AI enemy, Rupu, and this is to showcase how quickly the music can jump in and jump out, because I really wanted to avoid that you finish fight, everybody around you is dead, and the theme has to finish and reach the nth bar, which is synced to. In some games it works. I felt in Last Oasis it did not, so I tried to avoid it. And the second example would be a player versus player fight with the same exact cue we just deconstructed, and it goes all the way up to the third and low health layer intensity. So we can play the third video. All right, and this concludes the official soundtrack part, right? And now, as promised, let's jump out of the box. And I often, fortunately, nowadays less often, and each and every single year less and less often, but I hear that quote that audio does not sell games. And yeah, you're right, the well-executed footsteps will not sell a game, but same with well-executed walking animation or well-executed model of a tree. If graphics sells games, it's the top-notch concept art. If the animation sells game, it's not a walking animation, it's a combo finisher during a boss fight. And same goes with audio. Obviously, your everyday today audio will not be something that's your main selling point of a game, but audio has such a tremendous power to actually be a tool for both marketing and to to bring players into the game. And this is something that goes beyond just a trailer or something like that. You can step out of the box. You can think of the features, and it doesn't have to be a music-based game or nothing like that. And you can think of the features that will be, not humongous, but will add so much value and a unique selling point to your game. And I did a couple of such things that I will show you right now in Last Oasis. I'm really happy with them, and I'm really, really thankful to the management of Donkey Crew because when I came with those ideas, our CEO attitude was more like, yeah, knock yourself out, do it. And I'm very thankful for the trust, and I was able to do it. First, and we'll see a short video showcasing it. First is just a small gimmick. That's a musical UI in few of our windows. And second, well, you'll see. Let's play the last video. Yeah, so we decided to give players an ability to sync with their characters in our game. And that started as a small gimmick, and I thought that it will be nice if somebody's driving a walker and someone else is crafting and you don't have much to do, to give players something to play around, to kill time, so to speak. And we just had overwhelmingly positive reaction to it. I had screenshots coming from our marketing team in bunches showing that, players writing that this is the feature that actually tipped me over and I bought the game. Or I decided that I will buy the game because we showcased it even before we launched the title. And this screenshot is from a prototype. It was then since moved to code, but that whole thing was made in about a week, maybe just a tad bit more. And that includes recording singers, both male and female, making a prototype in blueprints, testing and tweaking it, and then, moving it to code and having a working feature in the game. That's really a nice boost, a nice selling point for the game. And just a few words about it. The numpad keys are triggering notes from the minor C minor pentatonic, and you can pitch up or down those notes by a semitone. Therefore, you can play all the notes from our Western scale. So whatever you like. Each have different modes from throat singing, overtone singing, and so on. Each sample, each note that you sing has been recorded in different variations and will play a different variation based if it's the first note you play, if it's a note that you transition to, or it's an ending of a note. Those are all randomly assigned. So if you play one sound over and over again, it will sound different each time. This is a piece of code that's adjusting audio in real time, and this is something that pitches the voice up and down, doing that fluent glissando, half a tone up or down. And you can even do things like vibrato with it, but I didn't go. I only played it with it on the prototype. It never made to an actual game. And the very end, just a small fun feature that I personally like. I did put it in there because of the all ping and latency and different values. It's really hard to do a rhythmical thing that will sound good between the other between the few live players in the game. So the system is thought out to work as long chanting notes, right? And so I wanted to avoid, because it sounded bad when players were mashing keys on the keyboard. So if you mash keys in your character, instead of going, oh yeah, and trying to change the notes, it will go and stop singing for a bit. And then you can go back to it. Okay, and with that, I would like to conclude my talk. I would like to thank you all for tuning in. Once again, I'm very saddened that this event could not happen in Poznan, yet it usually does, but at the same time, congratulations to the whole GIC team behind the scenes, making it happen smoothly so far, and fingers crossed it goes all the way like that. You're really doing a tremendous job. And now I'll open the panel because it's time for the questions, and let's see if there are any. Okay, so I have a question. If you think that using Unreal tools like TimeSynth is better than Fmod, and why? Well, first of all, tools are tools, and tool is best in the hands of experienced individual. So you should always listen to your sound designer or audio lead composer, whoever is in charge of the chunk of audio, and listen what he or she is most comfortable with. If it's Fmod, use Fmod. If it's Wise, go with Wise. If it's an Unreal native audio, sure, you can go with it. Unreal has come a long way. The new audio engine is a really great tool, and it's developing rapidly right now. I wouldn't say that it's really hard to compare. For one person, the Fmod system will be better. For the other, TimeSynth, and in our case now Quartz, because as I said before, Quartz will make TimeSynth obsolete. But it's really, both allow you to do a really, really good final product. For the most part, as of today, the middleware still have edge over the vanilla audio. There's just more mileage and more work put in those systems, and many simple ways are few clicks closer than you might think. So yeah, that's my answer to that question. And now, we still have 13 more minutes. So do we have anything else? If not, then I sincerely thank you for the talk, and enjoy the rest of the GIC. Okay, yeah, I see it now. What is the legal way of lending voices to, for example, singing? I'm not sure if I understand the questions correctly. If you're asking what is the legal way of getting voices to sing in the game, then you write down an agreement, like you do with every virtual instrument, right? You go to the session, then you record samples from a real life players. If that's the nature of a virtual instrument, obviously, and you have to write down a certain agreement that they are aware that their voice is going to be sampled in this and that way, and go further. And that they are aware of what you're gonna do with it. It's not fair to just record people singing, then cut it into pieces and throw it into a game. You have to be upfront about whatever you want to do with whatever sound you acquire, whether it's voice, it's an instrument, or it's a recording that someone else made of wind rustling in the trees. You gotta have this written down and agree. If you're really interested in details, how that agreement looks, I don't know, because I'm not the one writing it down. Okay, when do you think Quartz will be production ready? It's still in preview and TimeSynth has been in beta for a long time since the announcement. Well, I'm actually one of the first people that started using TimeSynth commercially because I literally jumped on it from day one, and they said the same thing. They say now about Quartz that it's a pre-alpha version 1.0 and be careful with it. And I used it successfully from day one. And if Unreal puts something out there and it's in public version of the system, it's no longer a mess. Obviously, there might be bugs here and there, but from what I've seen, I didn't have time to dive deep into the Quartz yet. I will if I'll have a little bit time for sure. But for me, it's no brainer. I will go with Quartz straight away. I think it's production ready right now. That's at least what I understand. Obviously, Unreal is saying because it haven't been tested for the whole game. Maybe I will hesitate if my game is launching in a month or so. But if it's a project that we're developing and we're at least few months away from launch, I will go with Quartz definitely. All right. Thank you very much. It was really a pleasure to be here. And once again, I wish you a great conference. Bye.